The Comptroller.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm sorry. I am a parent of children in Harlem Public Schools. I personally have seen the struggles of having my children in failing schools. Now my kids are in a successful school where students are achieving high standards, but the DOE is choosing to downsize the school to make room for a charter. Whatever one's view may be on the success of charter schools, they serve only 2% of New York City's public school students. Meanwhile, many of the large schools that serve thousands continue to fail. What is your plan to turn around these failing schools so that we don't have a two-tiered system of have or have not public schools?
Let me start out that I do support charter schools, and I think that I've looked at and have visited some of the successful charter schools across New York City. But charter schools are serving somewhere in the vicinity of 25,000 to 30,000 of our young people. That still leaves more than 1 million of our students who aren't in charter schools. I think in dealing with failing schools, there are a few things, first, there has been, and I was one of those who helped to start it years ago, breaking up some of the larger schools, most of those on a high school level, and being able to create smaller schools within those schools. But when we look at failing schools across the city of New York, there's a model that was created years ago, something that I was proud to be involved in, something called the Chancellors District. What we did with schools then was to take those schools, cap the size of the school, create a rigorous curriculum for the students in that school, focus on intensive teacher training within the school, focus on literacy and other things within those schools also. And what we saw, those failing schools improved. And part of it was intensive teacher training and a real collaborative effort within the schools. And we involved parents. And I think that's important also. As we look at so many of our schools, the need, and particularly those who are failing, we need to bring parents in, we need to involve them. So I think the models for how to deal with failing schools are there. It's been discarded in the last few years. I think that was a mistake. I think that when we look at some of our failing schools, we need to look to old models, like the Chancellors District, something that worked. And I would point out that everything isn't just a standardized test. And that's what we're focusing on these days. I think it is important that things like art and music education are brought back to schools, and we create well-rounded students. I think that's one of the ways to be able to deal with failing schools.
Mr.